Good afternoon. So we are headed out to the cooler to check on some dahlias. It's about time to get them potted up so that I can start taking cuttings off of those. I have my list of dahlias that I want to propagate this winter. They are usually things that make poor tubers or that I want to increase my stock of, and sometimes you have tubers that are really expensive or tubers that are really fickle and kind of die off easy. So yeah, we're just gonna grab those today out of our cooler here and kind of do a check on those and see what they're looking like. It's always anyone's guess as to how those are gonna show up. So I'm keeping this at about 38 degrees for storage. So we're just gonna check on these. As you can see, I've got some in crates with shavings and some in these totes with shavings. It just depends on how many there were. If there were too many, I put them in these crates, which is the preferred method. See, because as you can see already, checking these ones out, there's a little bit of mold on here. I still feel that they're fine, so I'm not too worried about it. You just don't want them to get mushy. And so I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pull my list that I have here and get those started. Hey, so today I am starting my 2026 gardening year, and I just thought I would keep updates of everything I do daily. And I am in a zone 6B, Missouri, so if you are in a similar zone, you can follow me and see what I do day to day over the year for my farm. Now, it's going to be, just because it's the same zone doesn't mean we're going to have similar situations, obviously. There are other factors to consider, but most things I do, I think you can copy and paste straight over. I don't think there's anything too sensitive that I'm doing that's going to be upset by humidity differences and things like that. So today I'm starting my dahlia tubers for cuttings. So if you don't know, if you haven't started dahlia tubers, they have to be lifted in the fall and stored over winter. Although if you live in a warmer area, my understanding is that you can keep them in the ground. At least a lot of people are starting to do that, but I cannot do that. So I have stored my tubers over the winter in these plastic totes right here. Actually, most have been stored in crates, just open crates, like bulb crates that you get when you order your tulips, with pine shavings, fine pine shavings mixed in, and that's the preferred method. But I didn't have enough crates for storage this year, and so I started using these, which I don't like as much because they do cause a little bit of molding on your tubers. So for example, this variety is called Bridezilla, and you always have to label your dahlias or you'll forget what you have. So I don't know if you can see this or not, but it has started to mold a little bit, and it's not going to kill your tuber to be a little bit moldy, and they are kind of a little squishy, which to me these feel like they've been kept a little wet. So I did take the lids off the rest of my tubers that are stored this way just so they can kind of get some air. But again, not bad. It's not mush just yet. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna pot these up in soil, and as they warm up and wake back up, they're gonna start producing sprouts from about right here. And there are several tubers on this clump right here, okay? So some of them are gonna produce, some of them aren't. I like to keep my clumps fairly big. I don't divide to a single tuber ever. So actually this is kind of the preferred size. However, if I were to get like a ton of sprouts, maybe I'd consider dividing them. So I'm gonna pot this up in soil, and I'm probably gonna use this same container, but I'll show you when I finished. This is how I did it last year, and even though it doesn't have holes on the bottom necessarily, I didn't lose any tubers to rot. I think you just have to monitor how much you're watering them. And so to begin with, I'm just gonna water these very minimally just to see if they wake up and sprout. I don't wanna start really watering them until they start producing greens, okay? So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start with that. Okay, so I have my tubers put into my soil, and I'm just using soil that I have around the farm. Any kind of potting soil or ground soil is going to work, just so long as it has some fertilizer in it. You know, you want good soil because these are going to be producing shoots for you that you're going to use, that you're going to take cuttings off of so that you can get more tubers. So you do want to feed it, and you do want to keep it healthy. Don't use anything that you wouldn't put a regular plant, a potted plant, or a plant in the ground with. Okay, so now that I've got these in here, and it really doesn't matter how high you bury them. I do have one neck showing right here, but the other necks are buried. When you take cuttings, you don't want the soil to get into the cuttings, so I am gonna, as they send up shoots, I'm gonna take the soil away from them and pull them out so that they don't have soil on them. So I'm just minimally watering, okay? Not a lot of water required. They'll make shoots in the sawdust, so honestly, they don't need a ton of moisture. So I've got enough water in here now that I feel good about that. So now I'm just gonna leave it on my seed shells back here. I'm not gonna put the lights on or anything, at least not until they start putting forth shoots. And I will check on these probably in about 7 days. It takes a minute for them to wake up. They're kind of slow. And in case you're interested, these were pulled up in November after our first frost. So they've been in storage about 2 months. So they're doing pretty good considering. I think next year when I do it, I probably won't put the plastic lids on. So that's it for today, and I will come back when these start sprouting and I'll show you how to take cuttings off of them. Okay, so here is the final setup once I've got the tubers out and placed them into their plastic containers. Then I cover them with soil and just a tiny bit of water. I do have them under lights, but they're not on. Once they start sprouting, I'll turn the lights on. And so these you just want to kept fed, and you want to kept them moisturized. Like, I would say the benefit of having these plastic containers is that you can see condensation when it's really wet inside. So that is kind of an indicator for me that when I don't see anything, it might be time to water. And obviously I just stick my finger in there, and if it feels dry, I add water to it, because sometimes the top layer can be deceiving. It can look like it's wet, but it's not. So anyway, there they are. Treat them as if they are growing you flowers. They'll keep producing those sprouts for you. You can take cuttings off of those, which I will show you once we get to that point. And then once it is above freezing outside, for sure, you can plant these outside alongside their cuttings. For me, the cuttings produce flowers more in greater number, and the cuttings also bloom a little earlier than the actual tubers do for some reason. So anyway, good idea if you want to increase your stock of dahlias without having to pay $1,000.